Hi folks, it's Andy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. A sort of quick and informal video for you today. Basically, last night I had a little practice with my two kids, my two daughters. And it got me thinking a little bit about how something I get asked a lot about is sort of practice with kids and how to practice kendo with kids. And it kind of had me thinking a bit as well about when I first ever practiced with kids. Because when I started out in kendo, there was no kids in my dojo. It wasn't until I was sort of like shodan or nidan before I ever actually practiced with a child, and I didn't really know what to do. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of have a look at the videos that I took of the practice that I did with my daughters yesterday, so you can see and we can talk a bit about how I practice with kids, specifically my kids. But it might just give you a little bit of an idea of how you can approach that practice with children. Bit of a different setup. I'm just trying something a bit new, to be honest, with this one, just so I can get it all done as quickly and easy as possible, so I can get it out to you as soon as I can. So yeah, apologies for like the video quality and stuff like that, but I think we can manage. A couple of things as well before we jump into the video. A bit of background, of course. My kids started kendo in Japan. My older daughter, Miyabi, she's 13. We'll look at a video of the practice with her first. And then what we'll do is we'll look at a video of my practice with my younger daughter, Nagomi, who's just turned 11. There's a bit of a difference in the experience that the two girls have had. So they're quite a different sort of skill level. Miyabi, the older girl, she started kendo when she was 7 in Japan. Had a much longer time doing kendo in Japan in a very competitive kendo club. So she did a lot of shiai, and I think she's got second Q or third Q or something like that. I can't remember. And Nagomi, she had a much shorter time doing kendo in Japan. She didn't do as many shiai. She's got much less experience. I think she's got 6th Q. Okay, so it's actually Nagomi that's showing on the screen, but we're gonna look at Miyabi first. Because she's a little bit older. Before we jump in though, don't forget, if you do enjoy the video or any of the videos that we put out, whether it's this sort of video, whether it's Kendo Rant or some of the other instructional videos that we've got, don't forget to support the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. But most importantly, shop at KendoStar.com. That's my website, of course, that helps support this channel. And that's a great reason to shop there. But as well as that, it's fantastic kendo equipment, best in the world. If you don't believe me, check out our reviews because it's amazing. That's KendoStar.com. Right, let me get up the video of Miyabi and we'll have a look at that straight away. Okay, so here we are. Obviously, as you can see, it's just a school hall that we rent out. It was just me and the two girls. So obviously, we're all the same household, practicing together, just for a short practice for their benefit. So Miyabi here is on the right. Like I say, she's 13 years old, and she's currently 3rd Q. I think what I want to just say before we jump into this is that when you're practicing with kids, it's important to remember that you're not competing with them. And this is Jigeko that we're doing, okay? It's not like Kihon when you're receiving Kihon. So the things that I'd remember is, because I think that's where lots of people get sort of confused, is if they're doing Jigeko and they suddenly partner with a child, what should they do? So the goal isn't to compete with them. Now, of course, it's going to depend on your experience and as well as the experience of the child. If you're a higher grade, if you're a teacher, that's one thing, and that's obviously my role in this encounter. But if you're not in that position, still, it doesn't mean that you do the same gokaku geiko, that's the practice amongst peers. You wouldn't practice with them in the same way as you would another adult, okay? You would still do what's called hikitate geiko. So the idea is you're trying to raise the level of the junior, the kid, their ability, okay, through your the practice that you're giving to them, okay? So I'm not looking to compete with them. Now, as I said, Miyabi is a bit older than her sister. She's 13, so she's at secondary school here in the UK. That will be in Japan. That will be first year junior high. So there is that to consider as well. Although I'm making strikes on her, it's also worth noting that I'm not hitting her with the same power that I would strike an adult. I am pulling my blows slightly. Obviously, she's smaller than me, and I don't want her to experience pain, okay? That isn't the goal of this, okay? So even though I'm making correct strikes, so still there's quite a loud noise, but I'm not hitting her very, very hard, okay? So let's go through this. And we'll pick out bits and see if we can sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. So I'm on the left, of course, and Miyabi's on the right. I think you can probably guess that. Okay, so I'm not scared of making strikes towards her. But as you can see here, I'm looking to give her opportunities to strike without just offering them to her. She's beyond that stage where I just need to offer them to her. So even from Super Zeri, what I want from her is I want her to be able to make a strike, and then if that strike fails, make another follow-up strike. So she's always kind of concentrating on her partner. So here I'll present the opportunity. Okay, so after striking the I'm in, I'll leave my hands up on purpose so she's got the opportunity to strike immediately. And this is something that for kids happens a lot in the Shiai. That they're presented with that opportunity after a strike, that the arms are up, and if you can train this habit in them, then they tend to have quite a lot of success with that. Okay, so again here, what I'm doing is I'm just going to go back there. Is I'm going to see how I'm stepping in here, but I'm coming forward as if I'm going to strike, and I want her to take that chance straight away, bam, and hit immediately. Okay, so again, I'm presenting her an opportunity without just sort of receiving uchikomi for her. Okay, I want her to feel the connection from me and then take that chance to strike. Of course, you know, she's not going to be successful with all the strikes, but what happens is she has to understand that when the strike's not successful or she receives a strike, she shouldn't just give up, but straight away make a strike of her own. So here I'm telling her that we're locked into Bazeri, and she has to find a chance to make a strike. Okay, she can't just rest in Super Zeri. So that's what I'm saying to her. You've got to do something. And I even sort of give her a chance, but she's not quite there. So she receives a strike. So again, I'm showing her here clearly that this is a common posture that she'll see from other kids, especially in the Shiai, all right, especially from the Super Zeri. If the kids aren't very good at doing hikiwaza, they'll try to escape doing this. So I'm trying to present her with a sort of situation that she might actually encounter. So she's got to figure out how to deal with that. That's not good enough, is what I'm telling her here. So you can be critical without being mean. Yeah, so I'm no, not good enough, not good enough. Is, you know, this sort of advice is important. You can't just tell them they're doing great all the time. Again, see, so here I'm coming forward to give her that pressure as if I'm going to attack. If you can see that. Here, I'm going to attack, and I want her to immediately strike. And she tries, but her footwork's not locked in. Okay, so footwork's not quite backing her up, so she's not able to make a good strike, and that's what I tell her straight away. Your footwork, you have to sort out your footwork. Concentrate on it. So you've not done that, you've not prepared your footwork, I'm telling her. Okay, so it's a good chance for the kote. So here, I'm using the time in the keiko to give her some practical advice on something that just happened. Okay, so I just told her about her footwork not being quite there. So she couldn't make the strike when she wanted to. And then when she saw the chance for Debanakote, she couldn't make a good enough strike because her footwork, it was okay, but it would have been better if her footwork had been locked in a bit more. So what I'm explaining to her is because her footwork's a little bit behind and she uses a bit too much right hand, she kind of swings the shinai a little bit too big. It just doesn't make a good strike for the Debanakote. And then, so the moment that they hit, you can hit immediately. I'm going to do it again. Give her another chance to practice it. She did a bit better. Okay, so here's a good example as well where I'll defend one of her strikes and then see if she's got the ability to make an immediate strike after her strike's failed. This time, after the first one, she did okay, and then the second time I gave her a little bit more resistance, and she lost her balance because her footwork wasn't quite backing her up. So this is what I wanted her to realize, all right? It's okay telling her, but she's got to realize it a bit as well. Remember, she's 13 now. She can understand what I'm saying. It's not like I have to break it down like I would with a really small kid. So she has to move faster as well. So I know it sounds like I'm throwing a lot of advice at her, but I'm calling out what I can see. In a way, I'm throwing quite a lot at her, but I'm not expecting all of it to stick. Hopefully, some of it will. So here again, I'm showing her a weakened position, hoping she's going to take some sort of advantage of it. But because she hesitated, instead I made a strike of my own. Okay, so this is what I tell her actually. Don't hesitate. You know, she should. The minute I'd sort of made that broken position, she should have confidently been keen to strike me. And this is again because the footwork's not backing her up. She can't make that retaliating strike. Like this, okay? This is what I'm trying to get across to her. When the opponent comes towards her with a lot of energy or momentum, you can use that if you've got good footwork to then make a retaliation strike of your own, and that's the kind of thing I'm trying to communicate to her. Oh, it's gonna take some work. Okay, so we're gonna do Ippon Shobu. Okay, so here, because she was hesitant, she started to get afraid. This isn't what I want from her, okay? This is Ippon Shobu. I'm not trying to win. I don't need to win this Ippon Shobu. I need her to win it, okay? But I need her to win it in the right way. So this kind of, where she's kind of hesitant and afraid is what I'm trying to train out of her. Okay, and by telling her that, you know, if she does that sort of thing, she's going to receive the strike. Of course, it's intimidating for a kid to go against an adult, yeah. But you've got to try and get them to overcome that. I'm telling you, don't be so scared. Don't be so scared. Be brave. So again, I'm going to use this opportunity now to explain to her a little bit that I can feel how scared she is. So she's coming in and then coming out again because she's scared. Right? She has to be brave and believe in herself. And she can make a good strike. See? And then we can get a good strike out of her. And I wanted to strike properly, hit a bit harder. Fantastic strike, but not quite good enough. Yeah, the tenuchi isn't quite there. So I'm telling her as well, she's swinging a bit too much with the right hand. And when she uses her left hand, she can make a good strike like this. So, and then I'll end with a little bit of light kakari geiko with her. Again, it's similar process to what we would do throughout the jigeko. but obviously sped up and repetitive. Okay, so I wanted to make spirited strikes that are courageous. Finally, what I do before we finish is I'll recap over the points that I've highlighted throughout the keiko with her. Now, again, this depends on your role in your dojo. If you're not like a teacher in a teaching role, you don't have to do this unless the kids ask you for advice specifically. But if you're a teacher, this could be quite a useful time to do that. Just spend a couple of seconds afterwards to let them know, sort of remind them of what you've told them about. Okay, so again, I'm talking about how her footwork needs to be sharpened up so that she can immediately make a strike when the opportunity arises, like after an opponent attacks and fails. Also, she needs to make more effort to swing the shinai with the left hand, because she has a tendency to pull with the right, so it doesn't have a crisp strike, especially when she strikes kote, the debana kote. She has the tendency to pull the shinai back and strike diagonally sideways. But even though she was so scared of the opponent, and this is a sort of seed I'm planting for the future, in the although she's scared the opponent's going to attack, actually she should feel almost encouraging for the opponent to attack, because it's going to give her a chance to strike. So as soon as they come, she can make that debana kote strike, which she's quite good at, but instead of when she makes a strike, instead of pulling with the right hand, she has to push the left hand forward. Okay, throw the left hand forward instead of pull back this way. This is the wrong way, what I'm showing her here. Instead, forward with the left hand, so she can make a sharper strike that achieves ippon. Yeah. At the minute, it's a bit slow because she's pulling it with the right. Okay, so let her have a try. Okay, so she's getting better at it. Yeah, she's taking on what I'm saying. Well, it's not a perfect strike still, because she's still swinging the shinai a little bit diagonally. So what I'm explaining to her here is that if she tries to place the shinai on top of the kote, she'll get a better strike. Okay, and that's what she ends up with. So instead of swinging diagonally this way, she thinks about placing the shinai on top of the kote baton of the opponent, which I think is an easier way for kids to understand. She'll probably have more success with it. So that's it. That was my short keiko with Miyabi. As you can see, you know, it's not a case of me competing with her. All right, I'm not just trying to win. I'm not just trying to make as many strikes as I can. I'm trying to get the best out of her. Whilst doing that, I'm trying to highlight points, especially as I'm in a teaching role, highlight points that she needs to improve on or could be sharpened up, and giving her examples of how she can do that, and then giving her more opportunities to try it throughout. Okay, right, let's switch over to Nagomi, because it's a bit of a different situation with her. Okay, so here we are, and obviously Nagomi's on the right. She's quite a bit shorter than her sister. She's younger, and like I say, she's got much less experience. Okay, so there's a very different experience level here. Okay, so I'm not going to present as many competitive opportunities towards her, but I am still going to be making strikes towards her. Again, though, I'm not making strikes with full power. Even though I can move quite quickly, I don't have to hit her as hard as I would normally. All right, let's get this going. Obviously, I'm on the left. Okay, so straight away, Nagomi doesn't have nearly as much experience doing shiai or even doing kendo as her sister does. And straight away, because we're doing jigeko, she starts to think about trying to make a hit at all costs. So she comes for this sort of rubbish kote strike. And I tell it straight away, saying, no, don't bother with that. For now, I just want to attack. I just want her to attack men. We can worry about other waza later. I just want her to strike at my men. All right, I want to get the best men waza out of her that I can. Again, it's really going to be about trying to get the right attitude, the right spirit from her, rather than teaching her effective techniques at this stage. Okay, so when she feels like I'm coming to strike, I want her to make a strike. And again, immediately after one of her strikes fails or she receives a strike, to make a strike of her own immediately when there's an opportunity there. So again, as I did with a sister, after striking my own men, I'll leave my arms up intentionally so she's got the chance to make a Hikido strike. I use this technique quite a lot. And again, step in. Obviously, so as you can see here, I am sort of kinder with the way I'm opening for her. Okay, so I'm making them more obvious and more exaggerated. But usually I don't just stand there and open. What you'll find is I start from a reasonably far distance and I'll take a step in as I open as if I was going to make a strike. So that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to kind of get that feeling of the opponent, the relationship between her and the opponent and how that's going to grow into opportunities for her to strike. She's not going to understand that at this stage, of course not, but I want her to kind of get used to that feeling of that's the good chance to strike. So again, here you'll see I'll sometimes defend her strike, but give her the chance for the hikiwaza, okay? Because I want her to immediately take that. She slips on the floor a little bit. Just check she's okay. Okay, so what she's doing now is she's conscious a bit as well that she's being filmed, and she wants to do really well. And obviously it's Jigeiko, and she wants to make the good strikes. So she's got into this sort of not quite panic, but she's become very eager to strike without thinking at all. So I'm telling her to just calm down. She doesn't need to rush. Okay, I want her to do it correctly. It's not a karieko. Again. So even though I presented her a chance, she wasn't able to make the good strike. So I tell her, no, that's not good enough. And she has to be braver. Okay, she was hesitant as she struck. She didn't think it would make it. And of course, even though the chance was there, she wasn't able to make it because she didn't have her heart in it. And then here what I'll do is I'll instruct her properly on tsubazariai, because she doesn't really know how to do tsubazariai properly. So I'll teach her how to do this. This is very easily overlooked when you're practicing with children, especially if they're much smaller than you are. You have the tendency not to end up in tsubazariai with them. Instead, when this sort of uchiai happens, you tend to just separate. But it's important that they learn how to do tsubazariai properly as well. So you must take that opportunity to show them. And then she's able to make the nice hikimen. And now I'm telling her as well that she has to be careful to keep her kamae. This is quite a common thing for younger kids, where they won't hold the center, they won't really have the proper kamae, they just rush into strike. So I'm telling her, no, you keep your kamae and take the center. And has to make sure she makes the strike with zanshin. Not just hit, but actually make it into a proper yuko datotsu, valid strike. And she's still at the stage, you see, Nagomi is still at the stage where she's not quite sure, because she lacks experience, especially of shiai, she doesn't quite understand the criteria of yuko datotsu yet, valid strikes. Because it's hard to explain even to adults, right? So I can't explain it to her. I mean, I try to, but, even if you explain it to her, she doesn't quite get it, because none of, even grown-ups don't, right? It's something you have to gain through experience, and she just doesn't quite have enough of that yet. So that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to get her to get to grips with that concept of the valid strikes. It's not just chopping and hitting, but it actually has a full start, middle, and finish. So I'm telling her as well now that when she strikes, she has to, for zanshin, she has to have proper zanshin. Keep her eyes on her opponent, don't look away. which again, like I say, because she's at that sort of earlier stage, she's still confused between the difference between doing Kihon, basic practice, and the actual realistic practice. So this kind of strike where you keep your eyes on them isn't something they do in the basic practice, but it's something that's important for the overall Yuko Datotsu. Okay, so I'm starting to teach her the difference between that. This type of strike, this is for Kihon, okay? This is just for the basic practice. But when you're really fighting, you have to keep your eyes on him, is what I'm telling her. She's not quite got it, okay? And again, she needs to, her footwork isn't quite there for her. But, she's making small progress with it. Good. So, she has to make sure she's in the kamae. Okay, so that's the end of the keiko. I'll move to the next video. There's another little video I've got with her where I did a bit of kakari keiko with her. But, you can see there's a difference in level here. So there's a difference in my approach to how I'm teaching it. Some of the concepts are the same. Some of them are different. Okay, I'm trying to get her over that hurdle of getting the beginnings of the ideas of Yuko Datotsu, which Miyabi, her sister, has kind of started to grasp a bit better because she's got that much more experience, obviously, from doing more kendo in Japan and entering more shiai. Okay, so when Miyabi was recording this for me, she paused it because she thought we'd finished. So there's a bit of a break in the video. But here we're about to do a bit of kakari geiko. I usually let them do a little bit of kakari geiko, and then I'll give her a few points of advice afterwards. I'm talking to her here as well about taking the center before she strikes, because I want her to do this during the kakari geiko as well. I wanted to think about that. She doesn't quite get the concept of it still, yeah? You can quite see that. Well, my job is to try to encourage it. So I was going to make that the last strike, but because she kind of bailed on it, she sort of bailed on it because I think she thought I was going to do the tayatari, and so I said, no, you're going to have to do another one. So then, as I did with a sister, what I'll do, I'll give her some advice. I think I give her 3 points of advice. So telling her here she has to take the center. She has to keep the shinai in the center before she strikes. Telling her to keep the center so I can show it. And she moved it off. So no, she's got to keep it in the center. So, we all know this basic stuff, but kids easily forget it, okay? They have to keep the shinai in the center before they make the strike. Number 2, use a louder voice, okay? Her voice is a little bit small. She knows it. And number 3, she has to, if the opponent doesn't move out of the way, because, again, she's not got the experience that her sister might have, so, a lot of her experience of actually hitting men, the opponent steps out the way so she can pass through. But obviously they don't do that in the shiai or the jieko. So if the opponent doesn't move, she can use that to bounce off them and keep the zanshin. But if you're doing kihon, and you pass this way, she also has a tendency to move off to the side instead of going straight through. Okay, so that's another thing that I wanted to think about. And that's it. And that's the end of it. So, that was it. Like I say, it was just a short keiko that I did with the kids. I know this has been quite a long video now. I did say a quick and informal one, but it's not so quick. I know that. But I hope it's useful. I just thought that it's something people ask me a lot about. It's something I was confused about a lot in the beginning. I didn't really have any idea of how to practice with kids until sort of I'd lived in Japan for quite a while and I got involved in a kids dojo. And my kids started practicing and I started watching how the senseis practiced with the kids. So yeah, I mean, like I say, just to recap, it's not about competing with the kids. It's not about making your strikes on the kids or practicing your strikes on the kids. It's about hikitate geiko. So it's about bringing their kendo up. That's your role as an adult, as a senior. I know there's going to be situations out there where it's going to be like, well, what if the kid's got more experience than me? What if the kid's a higher grade than me or something like that? I mean, you're going to have to use a bit of judgment there, because it's going to depend on the age of the kids and stuff like that. You know, I mean, if you've got a 16-year-old boy, for example, that's shodan and you're like third Q or something, then that's a different situation to what we're looking at here, because, you know, he's quite going to be quite grown. Whereas, you know, like a 13-year-old girl that I'm doing with in this is of course much smaller than I am, much less experienced, of course. So there's going to be some judgment required on your part. But for the most part, I just say that, you know, don't fall into competing with them or using it just for you to practice your jigeiko. You have to try and use the chance to encourage the children to do the best kendo. Okay, so present the opportunities depending on their experience. It doesn't have to be really obvious. I like to have them make a strike, and then either I'll defend it and then immediately have them make another strike. It's all about getting them to use the correct footwork in a realistic situation as well. So that's another theme that I'm sort of consistent with throughout my practice with kids. That's it. I hope you enjoyed. Shop at KendoStar. See you all next time. Bye bye.